My name is Jackson Otieno. Student ID is 191-333-18. This is the video of assessment task 2. The case study which I will talk about today was published by PLOS Medicine Journal in 2005. The title of the case study was, in quotation, "Should health professionals allow reporters inside hospital and clinics at times of natural disasters?" The author of this work is Anand Bahan. I reference this in the reference list and it comes first. Before discussing this case and ethical issues involved for the healthcare providers concerned, I will provide two definitions of ethics. The first definition is that developed by philosopher Peter Singer. Ethics is also known as moral philosophy. It is the discipline concerned with what is normally good and bad, right and wrong. This I referred it in the reference list as second. The second definition is by Richard William, Paul, Linda Elder. They defined ethics as a set of concepts and principles that guide us in determining what behavior helps or harms essential creatures. This is reference number 3. There are many ethical issues faced by health professionals working in hospitals, which is at a front line of treating people who have been hurt or injured in a natural disaster. One of the most difficult aspects of dealing with any ethical issue in this situation is the very stressful nature of the situation itself and the extreme nature of the medical care required by large volumes of people who have been injured or who are looking for injured or dead family members. The speed with which journalists can descend on sites of natural disasters can take all of the residents and clinicians by surprise. This one I referred it in the reference list number 4. The nature of the ethical issues faced in this situation are of applied. Sorry, I'll repeat that again. The nature of the ethical issues faced in this situation are of an applied and practical nature. The major potential ethical violation is that of the patient's right to privacy. If there is a film crew filming very injured and dying people, their right to privacy is compromised. In a chaotic environment, such as in an overcrowded hospital after a large natural disaster, it is very easy to lose control of who is doing what and where. This one I've also referenced it in the reference list as number 4. There are many published guidelines for journalists on the ethics of reporting. Journalists are required to respect privacy and human dignity, and to not intrude according to the MEAA Australian Journalist Code of Ethics. I reference this as number 5. The RTDNA Code of Ethics provides similar guidelines. This is reference number 6. There has been little attention paid to the ethics of healthcare staff allowing access to media through at the time of natural disaster. The footage is often the trigger of the world to pay attention and provide aid and assistance to those who are affected by the natural disaster. The British Medical Journal published a paper questioning the ethics of the use of footage of casualties from the Iraq War. The debate which ensued was around the need for the world to know the extent of the physical damage caused by the war. This you can find in the reference list as number 7. One study which interviewed a healthcare worker who had a repeated experience of disaster situation found that the majority of participants think that professional guidelines and regulations do not provide enough guidance in disaster settings. The overriding duty of such guidelines developed by healthcare organizations should be to prioritize the victim's interest. This is in the reference list as number 8. This case concerned the ethics around allowing news media to take photos and record real-time images of victims of the 2004 tsunami disaster. Families were filmed grieving for relatives. The majority ethical concern is an invasion of patients' privacy, not by the healthcare providers themselves, but the journalists reporting the event to the world audience. The parties most affected by this are the people injured during the event who are in hospital being treated. As described already, there is a need for information to be sent around the world to encourage other countries to provide the maximum amount of support and aid for the community affected. But this must be balanced with the ethical requirement to respect the privacy and dignity of the people who are involved in the incident. It will be very difficult for health professionals who are under extreme pressure to treat many medical cases to then be required to police the filming access of journalists and news teams. There is a great reliance on the ethical principles adhered to by the journalists concerned. The hospital administration could also make it very difficult for film crews to intrude by setting up barriers to all people apart from hospital staff and families of the sick or injured. The injured and the families are still, however, vulnerable in the areas outside the hospitals where film crews could be set up anywhere. The recommendation I would have for these professional bodies to incorporate mandatory and ongoing social ethics subjects to be undertaken by both health professionals and the hospital administration, with a specific focus on disaster management. There could also be within international disaster management organizations specific people who